Good evening, and you're very welcome to episode 21 of season 5 of the League of Ireland Women's podcast here on finalwhistle.ie. And once again, Aaron, we are predicting the future on this very, very show. We did discuss the fallout of Collie O'Neill's departure from Tallaght. We predicted what might happen, and it's kind of come to pass. We said we'd like to see a duo potentially of Steph Zambra and Anya O'Gorman, and it's kind of happened, really. Steph has been appointed as the interim coach until the end of the season, so she's got, 8 or 10 games to kind of see how that fits her, Anya O'Gorman, in that dressing room as well, of course. But plenty of other stuff happening. We're very light on games because we had the two we had the two All-Ireland Cup. They're getting so much free publicity from us, they should be paying us. We got the All-Ireland Cup semi-finals. What a game in Dalymount. Absolutely gave all the drama that we were looking for over the weekend. Sendings off, penalty shootouts, dubious decisions. It just had everything. You were at the game. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, your top line headline from the weekend, from that particular game? It just had everything.
It really had everything. Sadness is probably the biggest thing that I walked away from Dalymount from. With Kate Mooney's injury, that was probably the big sad part. And the one thing I've sort of realised over the last couple of weeks in the Shels and Bohs have played twice in 3-4 weeks. The one thing I've realised is this may turn into the proper Dublin derby that we see in the men. The spite was there in Tolka Park a couple of weeks ago. The spite was there. The bite was there.
How important for the league is it that we see a Bohs team actually be able to mix it? And this is technically a draw. So it's been a win and a draw for Bohs in this clash in the last 2 weeks. They're now at a level where they can kind of say we can compete with Bohs, maybe not over a season, but definitely over 90 minutes or 120 minutes.
Yeah, and it's shown an awful lot to the confidence of what they've been able to do. They've beat Wexford, they beat Glentoran, they're beating other teams. They're in one final, they're in a quarter-final of another one where you would have to say highly likely they're only going to make the semi-finals of the FAI Cup without being disrespectful to Newbridge Town. They're riding high. Since that 7-2 defeat to Shels, they've really sort of turned a massive corner. And I think when you look back at that 7-2 game, I think the learnings that was probably taken out of that game from Bohs was massive because they were able to mix it with Shels. They, apart from losing they lost 1-0 to Shamrock Rovers and they lost 2-1 to Treaty, where the game that Katie Lawley scored the absolute screamer in the last minute. Other than that, they're unbeaten since that Shels game. Apart from them 2 losses, they've won every other and won every other bar 2 draws. So they've turned a massive corner. And the thing about Bohs is it's not just one performance and they're sort of dropping away. They're putting in multiple performances. Do I think realistically they were full value for the win the weekend? Probably not. They probably made things very hard for themselves, even with the extra players. But they got there in the end, whether it be a bit of luck with a penalty decision, that we'll talk about a little bit more. But they still got over the line. They still have to convert the penalties. I'm going to ask you a question, and this is something that I've been thinking about the last couple of days. Should we scrap extra time?
I said 120 minutes. We didn't have 120 minutes the weekend. I heard somebody much more ingrained in the game than I ever was say this during the week. I'm trying to remember which podcast I heard it on. Was it The Rest is Football? Was it Gary Lineker who said it? I think it was actually the other day, just to get rid of it. He was talking about the European Championships, the Women's Championships, and he was just saying that it's needless. It just adds everything that we don't really want in the game, in terms of extra. It's for a lot of games it can be dead, and then others. There was one game in the junior ranks yesterday. I'm not sure which league. We track a lot of the leagues across the country, and I put in a lot of results over a weekend. But there was one game that finished 5-1 after extra time. Now, that's where a team just doesn't have the legs anymore, and I think that's. I'd nearly.
Can you imagine?
I think the penalties.
Can you imagine if we had extra time on Saturday with the circumstances? Just for anybody who hasn't seen the game, obviously Shelbourne had 2 players sent off within less than a minute. I'll give you the exact figure now in a few seconds. But if that went to extra time, I don't think Shels would get a penalty shootout.
Oh God, no! It would have been 2 or 3 goals of a margin. I think Bowes would have just walked away with it against 9 players for 30 minutes. Tired. Yeah, you've no hope. Before we get into the details of the weekend, though, there were other things happening. There's plenty of transfer market news. Steph Zambra, as we mentioned, will take charge of Shamrock Rovers for the first time. That happens tomorrow night in Tala. They host Waterford, so an opportunity for her to get a good start there.
With
You'd expect.
and now FAI Connect giving us transfers. I don't know if I like this. Do you know that? I don't know if I like it, but it's one of these that, like, the players registers. I know the clubs want to have their big fancy, announcement, but like the players registers, the club, it's now going to be in the club's interest to just actually get it out there straight away. I don't think there's any thing for the clubs in the sense of we can just hold off and we can announce whenever we want, because FAI Connect just runs it on, and everybody's now going. The problem is everybody's now going and searching players who they know that's A, potentially on the verge of looking to leave a club, or B, who maybe left the club in the off season and looking to get a new club. Everybody just going searching these players' names, and you're finding transfers left, right, and centre, and it's one of these that you started thinking, this is madness.
Yeah, well, I suppose we've been aware of these in the past, and I suppose we've not announced them because the club haven't confirmed them, even though we know they're happening just out of respect for the club. But to be honest, everyone, like, we look at Collie O'Neill's departure was old news by the time Shamrock Rovers posted it because of a range of different sources. But we Los Damas had it out first, to be fair. But like, that's the modern world. The club's nearly the last one to confirm things now in modern football. There was the small matter of the blue ribbon of the junior game or intermediate game, whatever rank you want to give it. Terranure and Whitehall Rangers did battle in the FAI Amateur Cup final, and that was a little bit of a surprise. Terranure probably would have been fancy to win that, but Whitehall Rangers emerged, scored in the second minute. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the goal. And I'll have a little bit of a rant about that as well, because I think the whole management of the stream from the FAI, probably, I know stuff happens, but it was just disrespectful. It wouldn't have happened in the men's game. We saw the first maybe 7-8 minutes of the build-up, teams coming out. Actually, no, we saw 8 minutes of an empty field, and then 2 minutes of the teams coming out, a bit of the anthem, stream went dead, came back 10 minutes later, 1-0 down already for Terranure. The only goal of the game had already.
I'll say this to you, right, without being critical of anybody. Anytime them pixel art cameras are used in the UCD Bowl, there is always trouble.
But I actually sent you a link to go in because I wasn't sure if it was my computer, but you could see it. The quality in that initial 20 minutes of the second broadcast effectively was terrible, unwatchable. In fact, even I had to watch it for work. I couldn't leave it on. It was that annoying. Both audio and video was disgraceful. For some reason, that hasn't come across in the live. And when you watch it back now, the same video is fine, but no commentary. And that, to me, is the most disrespectful. The other stuff can happen. You can't really legislate for it. But either not having commentary set up, or, as we've seen before in Belfield, having commentary set up but not having the right equipment in terms of microphones to actually put a commentary with the pictures. Whichever of the two happened, and it is one of the two, it's not fair. It's not right. These girls deserve their little bit of an opportunity. I know we tried to get 1 or 2 of the Whitehall girls on the show tonight, but they are about... the text back was that there were 5 pints deep and they were not going to be available for interview this evening. That came from... no names to protect the guilty, but yeah, they're enjoying themselves as they richly deserve to. But it's frustrating to see relatively manageable things not work the way it should, and it does detract from the whole situation. I believe the reason why there's 2 separate videos on YouTube now is that someone from the Whitehall end actually had to go and say, listen, our supporters are ringing us, they can't see the game, they can't watch the game, and they cut it off.
So
again.
Without saying, and I'm going to say this because the FAI have done a lot of good things when it comes to women's football and when it comes to the Women's League of Ireland. But we've seen this in the Women's League of Ireland, streams issues happening even at top level games. We've seen women's Premier Division games this season without commentaries. We've seen it previously where streams didn't work. The one thing for me is if you're going to commit to streaming, you need to make sure it's done right, and don't be like, oh, it happens. And the problem is too many people are probably too happy to just accept it's technical error.
Yeah,
but we don't see these technical errors happening.
I don't think it was a pixel lock camera based on some of the zoom in at the start. That being said, we're talking about two different departments in the FAI here. The League of Ireland is a separate department from the competitions department.
Yeah, but no, what I'm saying is if the FAI commit to streaming something, it should be given, whether it be an Ireland 15 game, whether it be an Ireland Schools game, whether it be a Kennedy Cup, whatever it be, Gaynor Cup. If they commit to doing something, they need to make sure they give the same commitment that they want to give when they have LOI TV Premier Division games on LOI TV. Has to be the same across the board, because the problem is if it's done half, you might as well not do it at all, because we see these things time and time again. And that's the one thing I would say is if you're going to commit to streaming the game like this, stream it right.
But to go back to your comment about the FAI have done some things really well, I think the League of Ireland have done some really, really good stuff in recent seasons. I think we're seeing that in attendances. We're seeing it in the quality of the players that have been brought into the league and staying in the league. And I think we're seeing some really positive things from the League of Ireland, not so much from the FAI in general. And that's a problem. And particularly when you get to the junior levels, it's hit and miss, and that's not really good enough anymore.
I don't know if you've seen over the last couple of days. Now, I don't know how much it's going to impact women's football, but the talk that in the junior ranks they're now potentially going to abandon the idea of having summer football because some of the junior leagues don't want it. They don't want the calendar aligned.
It's a disgrace, and it's a tail wagging the dog, as we've been doing for the last 25 years. And that, for me, is a problem. And this isn't aimed at any particular branch of the game. Everyone's looking out for themselves, and that's the problem, is that the only people who seem to be looking at the bigger picture are the FAI and the likes of Mark Canham, who, let's face it, didn't do a stellar job on the whole, made a lot of mess-ups in terms of appointments and stuff like that. But I think this, and I know he's not the first person in that role to have suggested this and have got it to that same stage, but I think the FAI need to gain control of football in this country. And at the moment, it's junior clubs, junior leagues, maybe not even junior clubs, junior leagues and schoolboy leagues telling the FAI what's best for football. And yes, there's going to be any changes, it brings with it some good and some bad. For me, summer football, the good outweighs the bad. And here's the issue. I live in rural Ireland, and I understand this better than probably most people in the urban areas in this country, because in the urban areas, you play soccer or you play Gaelic, or you play hurling, you might play two, but by a certain age, you kind of have the bodies. If you lose 2 or 3 lads to a football match or a hurling match, you've got plenty of numbers to fill in there. You come down to a place like Leitrim, there's only 35,000 people in the whole county. Very few of them play soccer. There are 2 adult teams at junior level in the entire county. There's 4 clubs. Carrick-on-Shannon and Ballinamore have underage teams, one at every level, one team at every level. If the Gaelic team have a match that day or the next day, that team's in trouble for numbers. And Manor Hamilton and Drumhair then have junior teams on top of underage setups. And again, it might be every level or every second level. So the numbers are tiny, and they're so impacted by other sports. So if you start putting, whether it's Leitrim or Tipperary or Clare or Wexford, up against Gaelic games, soccer is going to struggle in the short term. But I think what clubs need to do is forget about that superstar that's playing Gaelic that is going to end up winning an All-Ireland with Kerry or hurling with Cork or whatever it might be. Well, pick Tipperary, maybe Cork mightn't be the best time to talk about their hurling team in the last couple of weeks. But like you're going to end up with these players leaving the sport of soccer, and we just have to accept that's probably better for the 15 or 16 that are left behind. Because
it's very interesting you say that, because you said something to me earlier on tonight, and it's something that we're seeing right now. I'm literally looking through. I've just looked through the Terran your starting lineup.
Yep.
Shannon Thomas, Kerry Duffy, Kira Smith, Del Kennedy. What's her first name? Sarah Ryan, Nicole Smith. They've all played League of Ireland football.
Mel Houghton,
You know, and
won
then
the FA Cup.
and they're now down. Yeah, but now they're down playing. They're now down playing junior football.
Jade Reddy, she
So-
played for Bowes. There's plenty of, but on the other side, it's the exact same. On the other side, it's the exact same. Liam McHugh played for
hadn't even
them.
got to the bench. Hadn't even got to the bench. But you know what I mean. That's where like when they funnel down, and like women's football is as impacted with a lot of these things, and we even see it with the League of Ireland, where some of the players will potentially go away and play soccer or play Gaelic football and miss some soccer games, and it happens at all levels. So it's an interesting one. I think we move away from that because we don't want to get into a politics thing. And
I don't mind getting into politics for it. But no, it's just it's frustrating that we would. I think the move to summer football for facilities, for the quality of games not getting called off for a month or 6 weeks at a time. It's a no-brainer, and I think it's us not realizing what's best for the game to grow. And when a kid starts to play soccer, that they get to play soccer every week. And if it means less junior clubs, so be it. There's probably too many anyway. They're poorly structured. When you go down the grades, it's like a lad and his mates is a junior club in this country sometimes, in the really lower levels of some of the leagues. And that's just not sustainable. The club mark thing needs to be enforced properly. Clubs need to have women's teams. There needs to be a proper governance and a structure and all of that taken care of. And it just doesn't exist in probably 50% of the registered clubs in this country. And if we have to cull a few clubs to raise the standard in all the clubs, I'd be a massive fan of that. But everyone's out for their own patch. I get that too. People have built up clubs, regardless of how big they are, for decades, and they don't want to lose that identity. I fully get it, but I think we need to change. And I think turning away from summer football is going to prove to be a backward step for the sport in this country. It means we stay at the bottom of the food chain in terms of where these players go at 15, 14, 13. They're going to pick the Gaelic team because they know the soccer team work around the Gaelic. And it'll never be different. Anyway, let's move back onto actual football at the weekend. Let's go to we'll get the other semi-final out of the way first, because I want to spend most of our time on Bows and Shels. We haven't even mentioned the Champions League this week. Athlone, of course, hosted in Cardiff. We'll talk about that later on. Are you going to that game at the week on Wednesday? Yeah.
At the minute, the plan is I'm down on Athlone on Wednesday.
That's the plan as well for myself. So
and if they win Wednesday, I do plan on potentially going back down again on Saturday.
Of course, they play the Croatians on Saturday in Ireland. Those games both in Athlone Town. Inside joke, but we know why that's funny. Moving forward, let's talk about Galway and Wexford. This, of course, was the game hyped to be the star of the show for the weekend. Didn't quite live up to it, given how much drama developed in Dalymount. But yeah, Galway had beaten Wexford at this stage in all of the editions of this cup so far. This was the third time they met. And probably based on form, you probably would have fancied Galway to go through, but Ellen Molloy had other plans.
Yeah, it's one of these where, like, even when they met in the league this season, they drew in the league. It was a close game. Ellen Molloy's finish, it's a very nice finish, but she probably should never be allowed to score that goal on her left foot, slightly going away from goal, puts it into the far corner, past several Galway defenders. Galway had some chances in the game. It's hard to sort of, and the good thing for the players is the players wouldn't have been aware of the drama and the thing that was going on in Dalymount, because of the fact of by time of half time they'd have been sort of getting ready to go, warming up themselves, so they wouldn't necessarily been aware of it. But this game, like, I always had fears over this game, not necessarily for the fact that it wouldn't be a massively entertaining game, but the two sides just seem very, very evenly matched. Like, there's not a lot. Like I even said to you last week, I said if the game was in Ferry Carrick Park, I probably would have made Wexford favourites. But the fact it was in DC Park, you made Galway favourites, and Galway had chances. I think the biggest of the Galway chances is probably going to be Emma Doherty's headed effort. Like, had chances in the game. just didn't convert them. Wexford took that one chance, and that's the big difference. And I think when you look at it from a Wexford viewpoint, I think this is massive for Wexford, this result, because the fact that the last couple of years they've struggled to sort of make an impact since they won the FAI Cup a couple of years ago, they haven't really done very much in the league, and it's sort of been a bit of a drop off. And new management again this year. They've changed managers for the last couple of years. Then you're bringing in the likes of Shelbourne. Like, he's a bit of a, how would you say, he wants to sort of see, can he replicate what he done when he won the league with Raheny, and he wasn't able to do it with Bowes. I think he done stellar work with Bowes in terms of setting the foundation. But it's nearly like when people talk about Stephen Kenny, when they say at Ireland, Stephen Kenny brought through a lot of players, didn't see the success where the next manager may see that. I think that was a similar sort of thing with Bowes, to whereas if Ken had stayed, I think Ken would have seen the sort of progression that Albin has seen this year. But for me, like, I think Wexford just about shaded it. Wasn't a lot between the two sides, and it was just that one moment from Ellen that really changed the game.
Yeah, a couple of late chances as well for Galway. They kind of edged most of the game, in my opinion. Wexford, they don't care how they won it. They're through to the cup final. I think it's the cup final that we needed to see in some respects, because I think a Galway Shels final, people might have been like, oh, these two, they've plenty of trophies in the cabinet in recent years. So for the league to see, particularly in this cup competition, two teams coming through that wouldn't have been fancied necessarily at the start of the season to get to this stage, although I think you may have mentioned Bowes in this competition at some point. I know I backed Treaty to do well, but I think it's the final that will work. We're talking about venues that hasn't been announced yet. I'd love to see it in Dalymount, based on the atmosphere. And I think it needs to be a home or away draw. I'm sure
it will be. The FAI confirmed that there would be a draw for the venue. Like, the thing for me is, and I don't want to be disrespectful to Wexford, but Wexford have not drawn a crowd at all this year. They've struggled to draw.
We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, 47 or something, 57 at a game.
56, and like, I even spoke to someone. I spoke to someone from within Bowes at the weekend, and they said they were in Ferry Carrick Park when Wexford beat Bowes in the FAI Cup, and they said the attendance was poor. Even at that game, it was down at 66. Like, then you're talking for the Athlone game, they have it down as 56. Like, that's not really doable when it comes to like Wexford, what we used to.
You'll get a crowd for a cup final, but then you have to remember as well that at the moment, I'm not sure what date the draw or the final is down for. It's usually sometime
30th it's the 30th of August at 7:30,
which is bang smack in the middle of Gaelic season. And I don't mean that to come back to it again, but the reality is, if you're looking to draw a crowd and you have every parish in the county has a team out hurling or playing football at that time on a Saturday evening, like, you've no chance of breaking that in, because you just can't compete with that on a local level that particular week.
I'll say this to you, and I think I said this to you off air as well, and I'm going to say it on air as well. There was 1,389. It was a record women's attendance in Dalymounts. At times, it felt like a League of Ireland men's game, with the roars, and that's not just coming from a one side. The Shels fans gave as good as the Bowes fans when Shels were on the ascendancy. The Shels fans, like, even seeing when you watch back the video of when Pearl Slattery scores the second goal and runs towards the fans, the roars out of him, and it was just like, it was nearly as if you were watching Bowes men's there in a really, really packed Dalymount with the noise. I think the two clubs, I think Bowes deserved the credit because it was Bowes who done it, but allowing Shelbourne season ticket holders in for free as well as their own season ticket holders and members. Like, I think while it's important necessarily to make money off these sort of games, they probably made a lot of money in the bar, because you know they were allowed to bring their.
That's the thing. I was involved with Sligo Rovers back on their 90th birthday, so 2018, and I took on the role of kind of managing that night. It was a home game against Bray Wanderers in the men's game, and we gave out thousands of free passes to under 12s. Normally it was a fiver in, and half-price tickets to teenagers, which was normally a tenner. And then we also invited every single former player. Anyone who had ever played for Sligo Rovers in a senior men was invited back, 2 free tickets. We gave out thousands of free tickets, and it was the biggest gate receipt of the season, bar maybe the first game, which was huge. They've been promoting that for 3 or 4 months. And the point was, yeah, half the people were in the crowd for free, but there was something like 3,000 people at it back when we weren't getting that at the time. And the take-ins on the shop for merchandise, the take-ins on the ice cream, popcorn, all that stuff. The place was packed. Nearly every kid in the Northwest was in the showgrounds that night. The atmosphere was amazing, and it creates an atmosphere that people want to go back to. And I guarantee if you were to do a straw poll of the kids that were at the game on Saturday afternoon in Dalymount, how many want to go back next time, you'll get 80% saying, yeah, I want to go back. Whether the parents will bring them or not is a different question. But for the kids that might have been in that 56 or 66 down in Ferry Carrick, they take or leave it. And we need to start building the atmosphere at these games. And for me, it's about how many seats can we fill and what's the average price we can make off that person. That's what we need. And if it starts off at 0, that's fine. Get 1,000 people in the gate and then try and get €2 a seat next week, $2.50 a seat the week after. And that's how you're going to grow. If you can build an atmosphere that people want to be at, that want to feel like there's something positive happening, it will generate that income around it. Jersey sales.
This is the sort of conversation I've had with Kristen Sample, who's working with Shelbourne. And like she's often said sometimes, you know, yes, there's people here, but she's thought about the atmosphere in Tulloch Park and how she wants to improve the atmosphere. And like that's what it is. That's what it's about. It's not necessarily just all about bums on seats in the sense of if you've got the atmosphere there. Like I think when the Shels Ultra show up in Tulloch Park, they make a roar. Like I think Athlone, I'm expecting massive noise out of the Athlone contingent on Wednesday because we've seen even when they've got the cup finals how they've come out in the numbers, the drums, the big things and stuff like that. Like I think that's as important because there's no doubt about it that 12th man in essence on Saturday for Boas definitely helped them at stages. But like it was one of the best league world atmospheres for a women's game that I've ever been to.
Yeah, and that speaks volumes.
And it's a credit to both clubs for the actual atmosphere.
Let's talk about the actual game because I can't believe it's 27 minutes before we're really getting into it. 2 yellow cards twice. The second for each player coming in an unbelievably short space of time. Do you want to put us out of our misery? How long?
27 seconds between the 2 red cards. Surely that nearly has to be a world record.
Given that the first player has to leave the ground before you start play, which
he didn't even
happen. He let play continue, which is probably why it's so short. But Alex Kavanagh wasn't even off the field. Wasn't off the ground as she has to go to the restroom. She wasn't even in the dressing room by the time Noelle is on the march towards her.
I mean, Pearl's on the march.
Sorry, Pearl. Noelle came off as a sub immediately afterwards. And we'll talk about maybe start at the start of the game. Because there's so much and so many different events we want to talk about because it's the first time really we've had a game where we're like going, yeah, let's analyze that to death because it was just everything to it. We had missed penalties, we had rebound scores, we had red cards, we had last minute, like I think that penalty miss and rebound score was what, about something like 90 plus 6, was it?
Something like that, yeah.
90 plus 8 it was, according to FA Connect. So let's start at the very, very beginning and work our way through it. You've kind of picked out some of the highlights. It starts in the first minute though. A penalty awarded for a foul seen by only the referee as far as I can tell, because to me, I'm not sure he got that call correct.
I initially thought on Saturday it was penalty.
Okay.
I initially thought on Saturday it was a penalty. My initial thought was, Rachel, what are you doing? Just let the ball run out of play. That was my initial thought. When I watch it back, and because you've said to me, because obviously you weren't watching, you were watching it on the computer, so you were able to see it compared differently to me.
I turned the game on 2 minutes late. Couldn't rewind. I didn't see it until this afternoon, really.
But like even when we talked earlier, you said to me no. And when I went back and watched it again, like it's just a collision of 2 players coming together.
Let me explain it for the benefit of people who may not have seen it and are listening to this or watching this. A long ball from Alex Kavanagh bounces once or twice. Kate Mooney is full pelt going for the ball, and the ball is obviously, she's not going to get there. The ball is going to run out over the end line, and Rachel Kelly comes out. She's about 10, 15 yards wide of the post, and she dummies the ball to let it roll out. So she comes out and she slows down and dummies the ball. And to be fair, Kate doesn't slow down and collides. Probably Kate going 80, 90% full speed, and Rachel maybe at 40 or 50%. It's a coming together of players. There's no malice from either side. But if I'm given a free, it's a free out all day, in my opinion. Kate comes off much the worse. She's 7 or 8 minutes before she's moved off the pitch. She's another 20 or 30 before she's moved out of the ground. Really hope it's not as bad as initially feared, although I suspect it's going to be a pretty bad injury given how much and how long it took to move her from there. It's such a shame for a girl who's had injury troubles before and was really hitting form.
Season of her life.
Yeah, unbelievable that it's happened to her again. But Shels get the penalty. To be fair, the lads in commentary called it in real time. Gavin, I'm not sure who that Gavin is, but he called it.
Gavin Hughes is the under-19s coach.
He called it in real time. Now, we'll say that with a biased home commentator, would probably be expected to say that, but he did call it and said it's never a penalty. Ref gives it. Mackenzie Anthony scores. Shels 1 up after what took 8 minutes to clear the pitch. It's your thoughts on it?
Like when I watch it back, I'm not sure it's a penalty. It's a collision of two of them just come together. I'd say 8 out of 10 you'll see the referee give a free kick out for that, because but it's a disappointment. It's a disappointment just because of the fact that Kate's come off injured. Like, I initially did think it was a penalty, but I hadn't seen it back at that stage. Like, my initial thought was I thought Rachel went to play the ball and actually got her. But when I watch it back,
she doesn't touch
it. It's sort of she just moves, tries to watch the ball out, and it's a difficult one because, you know, Kate's one of the nicest humans in the league in terms of the personality, and Rachel as well. Like, it's one of them that I don't think either of them tried to injure the other person, and it was one of these things that we probably see an awful lot where people collide trying to keep a ball out, and 95% of the time the two of them get up and walk away quite easy with no issues. But I think just due to the injury, it probably looked worse initially. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it took me quite a while to actually focus back on the game, because Kate Mooney was still in the corner, and I was constantly looking up there to see if she was okay and stuff like that. So it took me a while to sort of get back into the swing of the game and sort of into what happened, into what went on next. I think the next real one we need to sort of talk about is the tackle from Pearl Slattery on Sarah McKebba. I think it was Hannah O'Brien picked the ball up off. She was in a collision with Rachel Graham, got away from Rachel Graham, played the ball through to McKebba. McKebba's on the right wing, and Pearl Slattery comes across and takes her out. For me, initially when I seen it straight away, I thought red all day. I was like, no, there's no way it can be a yellow. And then when I watched it back, I still haven't changed my mind. I even said it to Owen Wearing even after the game when I was talking to him separately after I finished interview, saying I thought it was a red card. It's probably one of them yellow. It's probably one of them reds that it's a yellows that it's one of the more on the upper scale. Like, you'd probably see 60-70% of the time given as a red card. Then there's a little bit of a scuffle then after.
I don't think anyone from the Shels point of view could have had a complaint had Pearl.
I'm not going to name who, but I asked someone for an update on Kate at halftime, and we were talking about the talent challenge, and he said he thought themselves that they were a bit lucky not to have seen red at that stage.
Yeah, 100%. Talk about the incident immediately after that. So in the aftermath, a bit of pushing and shoving, ref books a couple of other players, and I think the yellow card for Fiona Donnelly, because Fiona's push is probably a little bit more aggressive than Kiva's, although Kiva ran quarter of the pitch to get involved in the thing and probably deserves a yellow for that alone. But I think Fiona Donnelly's push actually saves Pearl from a red card at that point, because in the referees, because he ended up actually booking one of the Bows coaching staff as well at the same time.
Alan Murphy,
Yeah, so like he's given out 4 yellow cards. I think he's made that choice rather than 1 red, if that makes sense. I think she maybe actually did her side a disservice in terms of the advantage they might have had Pearl been sent off earlier in the game. But anyway, 4 bookings, 3 on the field, 1 off it. It kind of seemed to rile up the Bows fans though, and they really got stuck in. And before I move on to the goal, which happened a couple of minutes afterwards, anything else you want to add on that? Because
Shels fans are up in arms as well, and even the one thing about it is like, and I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't necessarily give out and just say anything to Royal Shels fans, but the problem is in the game is if you're going to give it at times, you nearly have to take it back as much back. And like we've seen even last year when Gemma Quinn had the flag in Tala Stadium, how Shels fans sort of shared it all over the place. And like it's a rivalry. I think the one thing I will say to both sets of fans is while it's a rivalry, I don't think it's spilled over. And that's the best part of it because of the women's game. It's yes, they were given the ref their opinions at halftime when he was coming in, but that's just standard. You see that. You see that in general.
Yeah, from both teams. Like both teams give out to the ref at halftime. I thought, and I said it to you in real time on Saturday as we were both watching the game. I thought the ref that Shels got the rub of the green in nearly every situation all day with the ref. Shels probably won't agree with me on that, but I just felt that the 50-50 calls nearly all went Shels' way.
So if you look at the Alana McAvoy goal, like we even talked about that in the build-up. I think Rachel Graham fouls Hannah O'Brien in the box. It doesn't get given. Ball falls nicely to Alana McAvoy and scores. The one thing I will say from a Bows viewpoint is after the Sarah McKevitt tackle, I thought Bows really came into the game. I think if you're Alban Heist, you're probably a little bit disappointed that when you equalise, you don't maybe go on and grab that second before halftime when they sort of had that bit of momentum and that bit of go forward. If you're Owen Wirren, I'd be happy going in at halftime. You've settled the patch from Bows, and like even at the start of the second half, I thought Shels came out very well. I thought Shels were pretty much in control of the second half up until the sending offs. I thought Shels were managing the game quite well, and when they went ahead, it looked as though they were playing at a pace that they wanted to play at, and that like they weren't gonna be caught upon by Bows. I think Bows were struggling to sort of break them down at that stage. But even when we move into the second half, I think the two things for me when it comes to the second half is Alex Kavanagh's first yellow card. I don't necessarily think it's a foul that gives the yellow card. That I don't necessarily think it's a foul that Kavanagh commits there. I think I think it's for me. I'm okay with the challenge. Yeah. It's more of a fact that the reaction is what gets her booked.
Yeah.
Now the one thing I will say is
reaction, because she has a bit of an outburst, throws the arm once, and then she does it again a second later. And I think it's the second reaction. That's what the ref reacts to. And yeah, I agree with you. Foul, maybe, probably not. But at the same time, you can't react like that. And as well, I think at the time they were. It was in the Bows half. It was an attacking foul, if you know what I mean. Like Bows, there was no.
Yeah, it was.
There was no threat.
They were in the Shels half. No, they were in the Shels half. They were midway in the Shels in around half because the tackle happens out in the left corner, probably about 15 meters back from where she got the second yellow from. But like when you look at it, it's like Bows have a long way to go. They're not really set up to go on attack.
Yeah, they've got 3/4 of the field to go. Like.
I'm going to say this now, and this is something I necessarily don't like about Shelbourne this season. It's the amount of yellow cards they're getting for reactions to referees.
Yeah.
Someone is going to get a straight red card soon for a reaction to a referee from Shels, and it could be in a big game because the amount of times they've got yellow cards this season for players reacting, like we've seen Noelle getting sent off, for the second yellow card for against Piedmont. It was something that was said. For the first one, and same again, a tackle straight away, books or red card. Yeah, referees, I don't think they're going to be too pleased with the fact that
Alex Kavanagh's sending off at the weekend was completely and utterly unneeded. She's the best player in Shels. Let's call a spade a spade. She makes Shels tick. When Shels don't have her, they struggle.
She controls that
the best
game.
player in the squad. She's the best player in the squad, hands down. And there's some really good players in that squad, and she's the best. And the first goal or the first yellow card was for a reaction to a silly foul in a non-dangerous area, no chance of any kind of threat from it. And the second was for kicking the ball over, not even kicking it over in anger, just inconveniencing the Bows player. It's a yellow card. We see it given all the time, but you don't need to do it when you're on a yellow card. So she shouldn't even have got booked in that game.
But the thing is, we need to take a step back here, okay? Mackenzie Anthony, what was it, 2 minutes earlier?
Yeah, a minute and a half.
Was kicked for booking the ball away.
6 feet from Alex Kavanagh. She was standing right beside her when she did it.
So, like, for me, I understand that Kavanagh is trying to stop a dangerous attack. But when you look at that, Bows were midway through their own. They were about 15 meters from the halfway line. They weren't going far. The problem with that stage is, right, that's where tensions already got high, emotions already got very high at that stage. You knew something was simmering, that it was going to boil. Like, even look at a couple of minutes earlier, Hannah Healy got booked. Hannah Healy got booked for a couple of minutes after Alex's first yellow card for a little bit of a late challenge on Noelle, when Noelle went past a couple of players. Like, you could see that it was simmering. You could see that it was sort of going that way. And then once the second yellow comes, I don't think he has any choice when she flicks the ball over the advertising horn, but to give her the second yellow card. Like, the thing about it is it's the fact that she's gone off the pitch after the Bows player. She's done all the great work to sort of force the Bows player out, and even with the throw in being given there, to force the Bows player out, to stop that any sort of attack at that stage. So where if she does what she does the first time, right, the first little nibble, and runs, she gets away with it.
Yeah,
no problem. It's only because she had the second flick. And then, like, even speaking to Owen Wirren about that whole minute or so, he said to me, at that stage, I was ready to bring on Megan Smith-Lynch for Noelle Murray for some fresh legs, and then all of a sudden, 27 seconds later, Pearl Slattery's gone as well. For me, like I said earlier, Pearl probably should have been gone for the first one.
Yeah.
The second one, she gets caught goal side by Leah Glenn, and I think Glenn is true on goal. I think she knows herself. She knows herself. She just pulled her down. I think to get a second yellow, it's probably she'd be happier than getting a straight red. But like, it was a challenge that I think a lot of players would have made in Pearl's position. Do you make that challenge with already having a player just sent off? It's a difficult one.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a definite yellow card, and it's probably more. And I think both of those challenges, the one in the first half and then the one she did see the second yellow for, either of them could have been straight reds. For me, the biggest problem now is, where do Shels go? They've lost Kate Mooney potentially for the rest of the season, if it's as serious as we suspect it might be. Hopefully it's not, but it could be. They're now gonna. Well, will they serve a suspension? We talked at length in the show about the start, because
I clarify it's
that's crazy
ruled in that situation. So
will they be suspended for the start of the game, start of that tournament next year?
No. Same way Amanda McQuillan was not suspended. I think, and I'm going to quote the Three Amigos podcast because I actually listened to this exact word earlier. I think it was they quote. I think it was Rule 24.4 or something in the competition rules that they don't say that the suspension doesn't carry over to the league or doesn't carry over to the next year's cup.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not calling for suspensions. They're a necessary evil, unfortunately, but I think that just creates an environment where you're losing in the last game of a cup competition, and you can just go all out and do whatever you want with pretty much impunity. Like, you might get a cash fine.
I think maybe they have to potentially look at putting a cash fine into it. But
the cash fine probably applies, but that's not good enough in my opinion. I think there needs to be some repercussion for a red card, whether it's now or next game or in the future. So for me,
if you're going to do it, it should be if the competition happens next year. It's the first game. I wouldn't want this.
I'm open to corrections. I think Cliftonville assumed that a player who was sent off
against Galway.
Yeah, they assumed that player was was suspended and didn't play her in the first round this year.
Yeah.
And then Shels played McQuillan. And I don't mind. But as long as the rules are applied, but that's not right. Like, that's just not right.
I had a good chat with somebody in Shels actually about the McQuillan situation. And they said they double, triple, because as far as they were concerned, in the build-up to that game against Linfield, they were prepared to play one of the youngsters in goal. They had it all set, and then all of a sudden, they are able to put the player into FAI Connect for and then they went to the FAI and said, hey, we're able to do this. This is this. They went and they triple-checked absolutely everything with the FAI, and the FAI were like, yeah, you're okay to put that player in. So that's why they went ahead and put Amanda in. And like the thing about Shels is I don't think Shels when it comes to anything to do with that. I think they're so. I think like say Liam Ward and Gordon Ewans are so on top of all that sort of stuff.
I'm not bringing anyone's name into disrepute in respect to that or Shels. It's a loophole that they weren't aware of, probably didn't anticipate, but were quite happy to take advantage of when it was made clear to them that it didn't apply. My point is that the FAI and the NIFL, whatever way the structure is, need to tie off that loophole, and that can't happen.
But the problem is then Maddie Gibson gets sent off, and Kelly Brady gets sent off for Athlone except suspensions. Ava Brennan missed the semi-final because she picked up 2 yellow cards. So like it's a strange one in that way that they don't carry forward.
I think the FAI, the organising committee, need to sort that out, and it needs to apply retrospectively from this year. And I go so far, and apologies, Amanda, but I would go so far as to say, even retrospectively.
Nah, I don't think so.
At this stage, but
do you know what? I'd also disagree. I'd also disagree with you in the sense of I don't think if they bring that loophole in, I don't think they should be backdating anybody, even the Shels players. I think it's an FAI error. They should.
It just needs to be closed in the future. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Let's move on to the closing stages of the game because.
So I'm gonna say this after the red cards. I thought before we even get to the penalty decision, I thought Bohs was just unorganised chaos at times. It was just putting balls into the box, and the thing about it is. Owen Wirren sort of said, I had to bring the players on. I need the fresh legs. I need the defender in there. Like, up until the penalty, apart from Lisa Murphy's header that was cleared off the line, it was all scrambles. It was all 2 and 3 Bohs players on top of each other. Like, it looked as though Shels were going to pull off the ultimate great escape. And if they had you would have had to give massive credit to that 9 players. But, like, if you're a Bohs fan watching that, I'd say you were probably in disbelief with the fact that they just couldn't break them down. And do you know what? It's not even a criticism of Alban Heise or the players you had on the field. It's a scenario you probably never really. You might do 11 v 10s, but you wouldn't do 11 v 9s. And what way are they going to do? Like you have to think about that Shels team. Like Shels brought in Avian Clancy when Kate got injured. They've got Kiva Keenan, they've got Jess Gargan, like they've got multiple Rachel Graham, at least 4 internationals on the pitch at that stage, sort of experienced players in the league, and they marshalled that situation well. I thought even young Nia Hannon didn't look out of place even in defence at that moment, and I didn't think it was coming for Bohs. I didn't think the penalty was coming. I thought Shels were going to hang on, and I was like, it's just been a brilliant defensive display from Shels. Do I think Bohs over the course of forget penalties over the course of 90 minutes deserve to bring in the penalties? I don't necessarily think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, probably not. The actual penalty itself, though, again,
I watched the back.
It's a penalty, but I could see it not being given as well. Like the ball, her arm is against. It comes from the side, and it bounces off her upper arm between the shoulders.
It's slightly out a tiny bit. I don't think Wilmer could have done anything about it. And you know the one thing I will say is the fact that the Shels players ran to her to say, listen, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
I think to me, because she's only a youngster, I don't think she could have done anything about it. And I think it was just one of them. Jess Gargan tries to head it away, doesn't get the clearance on it, and it just bounces up and hits her arm. But a letter of law, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. It's a brave call by a referee given that so late in that game, especially considering he didn't give the one. Like for me, the one I had tackling on Hannah O'Brien is a clear penalty as well. The fact that he didn't give that one and he gave the one at the end, I felt for Shels at that stage because like it was a gut wrenching thing. But then let's talk about your centre back Roisin McGovern stepping up to take the penalty. Interesting choice of penalty takers. Wasn't the best of penalties. Amanda McQuillan got over her legs. McGovern reacted quickly.
Good finish on the follow-up, though, because that ball wasn't at a nice height, and she just kind of knocked it back in and into the back of the net to level the game and send it to penalties, where she stepped up to take the first one as well.
And I actually really like that. I really like that because it's like, okay, I've missed. Let's go. I'll take the penalty. And she calmly converted it. Penalty some of them weren't the best penalties. Obviously,
it's probably not a highlight that you're going to show goalkeepers in terms of how to prepare for penalties.
No, I know, and I thought the save from Rachel Kelly at the end was a good save, and then Lisa Murphy stepping up for the last penalty, having previously played with Shels, and I've said it multiple times, playing that Shels under 18s team that got to the FAI Cup semi-final. She just seems to eat, bleed, sleep Bohemians, and she's one of them diehards within that team, and she coolly slotted that penalty home. I asked her, I don't know if the stream shows it, but when Roisin McGovern was taking the penalty in normal time, she couldn't look. She stood in the centre circle and faced the other way on her knees. She couldn't even look. And I asked her about it, and she said, I just couldn't. She said, I couldn't, my nerves. I think for Bohs, like you mentioned with Wexford earlier, doesn't really matter how you win it. It's just a case of getting over the line. I think Owen Wirren will take a lot away from the game in terms of some of the reactions from some of his players in the sense of how they have to deal with that situation, the character. Albin Heise will take so much away from it. It's another big step for Bohs, just even to reach a senior final. Like I even said to you at the weekend, and you sort of said it earlier, I think the league needs the likes of a Bohs in the final. I think the league needs that. I think the league sort of needs more and more teams getting into these silverware, because when you look back, Athlone obviously won the league last year, but Peamounts, Raheny, Shels, Wexford, it was only them three up until Athlone won the league last year. Well, sorry, four, because Wexford, Raheny and Shels, so it's technically four, and then Athlone when it's making it fifth. Like more and more teams involved in it is good for the league. It's good for the competition in the league. And then like I really enjoyed the mayhem of Dalymount. It was the 7. It was I've had the 7-2 and I've had that in Dalymount this year, and it's just been mental games of football. But I think for Shels, the fact that they have a league game this weekend gives them an opportunity to bounce back and sort of get back onto an even keel, because if they win this weekend, they go top of the league, and I think that's something that will sort of help with that hurt of the weekends. For Bohs, the question I would have is, can Bohs keep going and keep picking up results and doing what they're doing? I think they can. I think they've definitely turned a massive corner. But the only problem is they're going in to play a DLR Wales side this weekend that if they play the way they sort of played against Waterford, they could be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting times ahead. We won't talk about the league games the weekend because we might sneak an extra show in after the Champions League game this week. Let's talk about those two games. Shamrock Rovers host Waterford. Steph Zambra in the dugout. How big an appointment is that to the league? Because I know we both know Steph years, and she's just part of the furniture in the women's football world in the country. But from an outsider's point of view, she's a huge name. Like, this is a girl who's appeared on mainstream television and reality shows in terms of a few of them, and she's been around the block.
Can you name any of them?
She did Dancing with the Stars, and she did the Survivor one that name escapes me. Hell Week. Is that what it's called? And she's been in the public consciousness for the last decade. And
is it really a big appointment?
I think it is. I think within the league, maybe not so much. She's an inexperienced coach at this level. She hasn't worked with a team in this manner before. She's done a lot of coaching, but a lot of it has been in schools, and with kids of that level. She's done a bit of work with the international underage teams, but she hasn't been in charge in the dressing room. And this is the first time she's probably done that in this kind of setting, and definitely at this level. I had a bit of a chat with James O'Callaghan over the last couple of days, and we've both managed her. And she has had some very impressive managers as a player. She's going to bring all that experience in. I'm not including myself in that, by the way. But the
yes, yeah, give over.
No, but she's had some really big names, and she's had some experiences in 4 or 5 different countries. I think we were chatting about the other day. She's probably the most experienced player in terms of a life in football in the League of Ireland Women's Premier League.
So I'll say this: for me, it's a bit of a massive unknown in the sense of what she can do in terms of coaching. 100% agree with you in terms of the personality, the presence. Can she attract players? I think so. Is it a gamble from Shamrock Rovers? Yes. Is it a gamble from Steph to take the job? Yes, absolutely. But the thing is, if it works out, Shamrock Rovers could have an internal appointment that really works.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, it can lead to one of two things. It can lead to A, potential of her departure from Shamrock Rovers, which I don't think would be a good idea. Or B, it can show some potential of what she has available next, to what she's potentially capable of, to where she may then look at going under 19s, under 17s, can I hone that skills, taking them sort of teams. But I just think, for me, I think it's a gamble. But when I look at Steph, I don't think if she thought she was going to make a mess of this, she'd be willing to risk it if it was going to be a disaster, even if it's good for her. I just think that it's a free hit for her. That's what I think.
But I think that's essentially it. It's a free hit, but also it's an interim position. There's no committal from either side in terms of the medium to long term for this. It's 10 games, end of the season. If it works, she gets the job for next season and into the future. If it doesn't, I think with the profile she's got as a coach, which is really only half a season at this level, she could easily slip back into that role under somebody who comes in. There's nobody in the country, in my opinion, who is a more suitable fit for the role. And I say that with the greatest respect to all of the coaches who've been in and out of the league over the last few years. A couple of names you could probably throw out there. You mentioned James O'Callaghan himself last week.
Well, come here.
You do a great job. I think Tommy Hewitt is another name that has been around the league.
But if it's an interim appointment, there was only ever going to be could only ever be one person.
Yeah, but I think it's an audition more than
an 100%. 100%. And the thing about it is, it's an audition that she's going to thrive on.
Yeah.
Steph could go out there, and I'm not saying this to try and downplay her, or she could go out there and be the worst manager in the world, but she's going to give you 100% of what she has to try and succeed. If she doesn't learn, she'll take the learnings from it. But she could be she could be just okay, perfect timing, perfect place, ready to go. The other side of it for me is, a lot of people say, "Oh, she's only getting it because of her name." It's great to see, even if it's only a temporary, another female coach in the league for me, a manager in the league for me.
Well, you can say that, but let's look at nearly every single soccer appointment across the globe. Like Pep Guardiola got Barcelona because of his name. Do you know what I mean? And then,
even look at the league in terms of Laura Heffernan. Laura Heffernan finished playing, went in under the likes of Will Doyle, learned a bit of her trade. Has this come too early for Stephanie? 100%. But is it something that you probably can't? It's something she can't. For me, she couldn't turn down unless she didn't feel that she could do the job. Yes, it's probably come 12, 18 months too early because she's learning, but it's a good opportunity. It's a good stepping stone for her to see how she matches up. The biggest thing that I'm interested to see is, what way is she going to play football? I will say this: if you're tuning in to watch Stephanie's first game tomorrow, please ignore whatever type of way they play football in the sense of that, because realistically, she was on commentary duty yesterday for Ireland after RTA in the Euros. She's been in Belgium Switzerland for the last number of days. She's not really going to have time to do anything with Rovers, but it'll be interesting to see what she tries to do over the next couple of weeks in terms of playing style, how she tries to set them up. The other side of it for me, and this is the question that everybody keeps asking, is who's going to go in as a number 2? That's the interesting question. Does she look for somebody experienced?
Yeah, it could be a former coach that she's worked with who comes in with her as a number 2. It could be someone from within the Shamrock Rovers family already. It could be her husband, Dean Zambra. Like, he's got hundreds of appearances in the League of Ireland himself. He's playing with Wayside.
That was my thoughts.
And yeah, maybe it's a different turnaround to see a wife in the manager's role and potentially her husband as one of the coaching staff or the assistant manager. I think they're a great team. They work absolutely so well together on and off the field. Will their relationship survive? I think so. They're strong enough as a couple. They've been together, God, longer than they probably care to admit. Over the last
the biggest thing for Steph here, right, is Steph is going to get abuse off other clubs if she takes the job or if she turns it down. She's going to get the same sort of, it's Stephanie Zambra. She's going to get that whether she took the job, whether she said no. So, listen, the best of luck to her. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do. The big one for me is when they play, like they've 2 big games, like they've a number of big games in the next couple of weeks, and can she sort of consolidate and move up that league table? That's the interesting question.
Well, they could get two spots tomorrow if they beat Waterford. They're currently 2 points behind Galway, who are 2 games or 2 places higher than them in the league table. So they could take a big jump towards 3rd place, 1 point off Wexford as well over the next couple of weeks. But I think, knowing Steph as long as I do, I think Steph will bring everything she has. And I think you're absolutely hit the nail on the head there, is that she will leave no stone unturned to make sure that the club grows and that she grows. And I think she has the potential to be a really, really good appointment for Shamrock Rovers. Time will tell. Bit of a lack of inexperience, but that aside, I think she's going to be an absolutely stellar appointment for Shamrock Rovers, and I hope I'm proven right in the coming weeks. We won't talk about the game necessarily because, like you said, it's a bit hard to call. Shamrock Rovers on form should beat Waterford. The manager bump, the kind of girls wanting to show that they want to play for Steph as well. 2 new arrivals we've spotted on FAI Connect. You brought them to my attention earlier. Do you want to name them?
That's your name. I don't like naming transfers.
We have 2 players. Taylor White has moved from DLR, according to FAI Connect, and also Mia Dodd appears to have moved from Bohemians. Last played for them in May, so she's back in the league after a 2-month absence from Bows as well. So it's interesting times ahead for Shamrock Rovers. 2 new appointments, 2 good quality players as well, and maybe not necessarily players that will win you a league or will turn you into a league winning side, but definitely 2 players that can contribute either from the start or from the bench at that level.
Yeah, I think Rovers need more. The Rovers just need a bit more depth. I look by the looks of it, it looks as though maybe in a Collie O'Neill sign and maybe in signings that were done prior to Zambra taking the gig. But yeah, I think Rovers need more bodies on the ground, more experience. The window is officially closed at 11 o'clock this evening, so be interesting to see what other sort of transfers potentially trickle through FAI Connector and co over the next 24 hours. I think a lot of people will be searching players because it's frustrating that you can't just search a squad listing. You have to actually go and search every player and see what's going on.
Yeah, it's taken up all your days. But you find out on the Saturday when they get named in the team is probably the most reliable way to do it. The other game, and before we wrap up, and we are way over time, but I think...
There's another one, actually. I don't know if you spotted the Bohemians bench last week.
Okay, just loading here 1 second. Bohemians bench last week. Lineups. Savannah Kane?
No.
Back to pose?
There's an American.
Yeah, Lily
Rusher. So, by all accounts, she's a centre half. Hasn't been officially announced by the club, but she's been on the bench for the last 2 games.
There was another player who caught my attention at the weekend. Potentially... Oh, yeah. Another American in for Wexford. I'm going to butcher her name. I apologize. Anna Duan. She came off the bench. She only played for a minute or two at the tail end of the game for Wexford.
I think she was announced like Thursday or Friday last week.
But plenty, and of course, Sligo Rovers have a new American centre half as well. Name escapes me, and she scored 2 goals against Galway. So she was very impressive in that game against. Her name's Anne.
Gabby is I'll tell you right now because I've correct. McKinley,
that's the one. Yeah, she looks decent. Really, really decent. Like she looks like she'll make an impact for Sligo, and they need it. So it's great to see kind of players coming in all over the league that are going to strengthen the league and make all these teams stronger. So yeah. But speaking of Americans, question marks over whether Madison Gibson is going to be available for Athlone at the weekend. We lost.
Yeah, on Wednesday, I asked the question. I asked the question about herself. I asked the question about Izzy Groves, and then Colin Fortune obviously said about Kelly Brady coming off last week. It wasn't a tactical sub; it was a little niggle. I did speak to Kelly a while later, and she sort of said she'd be fine for Wednesday. Gibson will be the one that I'd be paying a close attention to at the minute, because if she's not there, that'll be a massive loss for Athlone against Cardiff on Wednesday.
We do expect Athlone to get through that game. The respective leagues Ireland would be ahead of Wales in at least perception of where they should be.
Yeah, Noelle Mooney's done an awful lot of work with women's football in Wales and helped develop women's football in Wales. I think Cardiff won the treble and won the quadruple the year before, so they're the top side in Wales, and realistically we should be getting through them, but I think it will be probably a couple of sticky patches for Athlone. You'd have to be fancying to get through that game though.
Yeah, I think if you look at it now, I know I've watched more of the Welsh League. I mentioned it last week on the show. I've watched more of the Welsh Women's League this year than I've ever watched before of any league before, purely by osmosis, watching the women on the Welcome to Wrexham documentary series, The Fly on the Wall, Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, and they've obviously put a lot of effort into the women's side as well. They've got promoted into that top division. They're relatively competitive, but you've seen the games with Cardiff. They seem to kind of make the biggest deal out of those. Cardiff look decent, and if Athlone aren't on 100%,
Fionn Price is supposed to be quality. She's supposed to be very good from a set play.
Yeah, but they have the ability. They have the ability to really turn one over and put Athlone on the back foot if they can get out. But I think Athlone should edge it, and then they play Croatian, and we've had
Shels beat them. What 2023, 2024? Shels beat them 3-0. So you'd have to fancy Athlone.
But that was in the second game, which was a non-entity, really, in terms of that. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I remember watching it. It was, I think that's the goal. That's the game that Hannah Healy scored the goal in, isn't it?
I think
both teams put out weaker sides, so I wouldn't read too much into that just yet. But it's going to be a big game.
Hannah Healy scored in the other game. I think Hannah Healy scored the other game because Noelle Murray scored twice, and Libby Moore scored the other Shels goal.
But I did watch that game, and you wouldn't read too much into it. It was a weak side on both sides of the aisle on that one. I think this is going to be a bigger clash. There's more on the line. You can actually progress. To remind people, the Champions League format has changed this year. So we changed from the mini group as a qualifier a couple of years ago, where 4 teams went to play each other over a week. It's now over 4 days. You play a semi-final and a final. And one team generally gets a bye based on balancing of numbers and stuff like that. So it's generally 2 teams play each other, and then the winner plays the other team in the group. If Athlone win, they progress to play the Croatian champions, who are from the Hajduk Split. No, they're Zagreb. They're from Zagreb, and they will play them on Saturday. And if they win that, they then have kind of an opportunity, if they were to. They go into another round of this, essentially, where 4 more teams go to one venue, 2 semifinals and a final. If they lose the first round in that, the semifinal in that, they will get a third place playoff in that little mini group. The third place team goes into the new UEFA Europa Women's League for
That's just ridiculous. The second place team should be going in there.
Yeah, but it's not. It's the third place team. So basically, they need to win 3 out of 4 games, but it must be in the order of win-win, lose-win, or win-win, win-win. That will put them in the first round proper of the Champions League, and that's home and away, 2 legs the whole way through to a group stage, and then I think there's a 1 or 2 playoff rounds before they get to the group stage, and then in the
It's a lot of work to get to the group stage.
It's very it's a lot of the group stage is probably a step too far for any Irish club.
And just so people are also aware, the game is going to be live free on LOI TV. You just need to be registered with LOI TV.
But I would anticipate most people who watch this podcast or listen to this podcast are registered with LOI
and
TV.
There is about 1,100 tickets gone.
And we're both going to be there, so come along and enjoy the fun. I can't promise we'll say hello because we're a bit snobby like that, right, Aaron?
That's you.
If you do see us and you're at the game, do come and say hello. We love chatting to people. The funniest incident we've ever had, because we don't actually spend that much time in each other's company, Aaron. We live on different sides of the country. We do this remotely, obviously. We've never had one where we're both in the same room.
I know exactly where you're going to say here.
We did go to the Cup final a couple of years ago, and just by circumstance, we ended up sitting beside each other in the kind of the overflow area. We left the main press area because it was just a bit crowded and a bit cramped, and there was plenty of space just on the next box over. And these 2 girls who we don't know, but they were cute as hell. They were probably in their late 20s, early 30s. And the 2 of them were sitting in front of us when we came up and sat behind them. And they genuinely thought we were recording, we were doing something, broadcasting live. And they were worried that they were going to be heard. And the conversation was hilarious. I can't remember the specific. It was just the 2 of them were like, "You're not going out live, are you? You're not doing anything that we're going to get caught saying some bad language." But they were funny. They were very funny. So we do enjoy if you're around. We know you're not in your millions, but there's a few hundred of you, a few thousand of you that join in every week. We do like to say hello. So do join us and say hello if you do see us at the game if you're around. But I would encourage people, even if you're not from the Athlone area. The Champions League is just that little bit extra. We don't get the opportunity to go see those games in this country that often. Even if you're a player for another team or
only one Irish team has ever hosted the UEFA Women's Champions League.
Is it Wexford?
Was indeed.
Yeah. I've had the pleasure of being involved at this level back in 2010. I can't believe it's 15 years ago now. But honestly, one of my life highlights of kind of being in the dugout, hearing that Champions League team being played, and a load of girls coming out who have all gone on to do wonderful things, playing at World Cups, you name it. Some real good memories from that time, and I'm sure the girls on Wednesday, win, lose or draw, will remember those moments. Everyone who's played at this level does. It's just one of those things. But there's a real opportunity here now with new structures for an Irish team to get reasonably deep, potentially in the second competition. And we're seeing with the Conference League and the men's, it's a really good addition, and I think it's still weighted heavily towards the bigger countries. But I think there's an opportunity to get through a couple of rounds of potentially the second competition for Colin Fortune and Gordon Brett's side on Wednesday, and it starts in Athlone, and you get the chance to say you'll be there. So hopefully we'll see some of you at the ground. 1,100 tickets sold. 11,000 will be a bit of a stretch in Athlone Town. But yeah, it'd be great to see as many people there as possible. Do take the time to come along if you're listening to this before Wednesday, and we might see you there. Aaron, I'll definitely see you there, regardless of who else is there. Thanks for joining me again, as always, and we'll be back with you maybe before the league games at the weekend. We're kind of aiming for Thursday, but we'll play it by ear. So you'll see us pop up on your socials if we do get another one in this week to kind of focus back on the Champions League. We may even record it after the game on Wednesday, and do one actually together live for once. But why break the habit of our lifetime? Anyway, I'm waffling. We will talk to you again next week. Thanks a million for listening. We'll be back with you then.